Breaking news on Wave 3 News. Watch it everywhere. More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on Wave 3 News Midday. I'm Connie Leonard. Brian Schlonsky is off today. Well, we've got some rain coming into the area, so we want to go right away to Brian Good, who's got an update for us. Brian, how much are we going to get?
Not a lot initially. It looks like any rain this afternoon is going to be very, very light and located well to the east, so not a huge concern on that. But it's the rain tomorrow, I think, it's going to have much more of a punch to it. So here's the game plan.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News Midday with Brian Schlonsky and meteorologist Brian Good.
The Biden transition is official, getting the green light from the Trump administration to get to work. But that doesn't mean the president is giving up his fight against election results. Tracy Potts is in Washington with the latest.
Now, you're watching Wave 3 News Listens Live.
And it is a celebration.
With your host, John Ramsey.
And welcome into the Wednesday edition of Wave 3 Listens Live. It is Thanksgiving week, and if you live here in Louisville or in the state of Kentucky, you are thankful for bourbon. Right behind me here, I have the Kentucky Peerless Distilling Company, and they've got some single barrel offerings that you are going to love, and we're going to mix up some Thanksgiving cocktails as well. I've got my friends from Care Tenders here. We got a packed show, but first of all, let's go into the newsroom and say good afternoon to Wave 3 News anchor Connie Leonard. Good afternoon, Connie.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Doing well.
We want to hit a few news headlines here. Millions of Americans are packing the airports to go home for Thanksgiving. We've told you the CDC is asking you not to travel to help stop the coronavirus from spreading.
Building on our rich history in the community, celebrating the people and events that make this the great place we call home. Wave 3 presents Wave Country with Dawne Gee.
It is a great place, and we have an hour to share it with you. We've got a lot to do today. I'm Dawne Gee. Thank you very much for joining me. Got a busy holiday-themed show. We're going to start by giving gift ideas with White's Mercantile. Next, it's virtual holiday shows presented by Kentucky Performing Arts. Everything from an evening with Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo reminiscing about Christmas Vacation to Jim Brickman performing live from his home. It's so awesome. Then something I'm really looking forward to, not that I'm not looking forward to all of that, but my mama is here. My mama's here. She's going to be cooking up a wonderful recipe that she does for me for my birthday. It's what I ask for every year for my birthday, and you can make it for the holiday too. So she's going to join us with that. I don't know if she has a real recipe, so you might want to set your DVR. We do what we call kitchen cooking. There's no real recipe. She always says you just mix it in there until it looks right, if that makes any sense to you. And the Winterwood Spectacular starts this weekend at Iroquois Park. It's going to be wonderful. We have got a preview. Elizabeth Pace will join us a little later from the Now desk, but right now we will do some headlines. The White House transition is formally moving ahead today as President-elect Joe Biden introduces the cabinet members who will take office with him in 57 days.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Shannon Kogan. Indiana today announcing the highest number of COVID-related deaths since the pandemic began. These are the latest numbers out of Indiana. The Hoosier State reporting more than 5,700 positive cases today and 103 deaths. More than 5,100 people have now died from COVID-19 in Indiana.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 3 with Shannon Kogan and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned.
Weeks after the election, the White House finally lifts its roadblocks, freeing up money and key resources for President-elect Joe Biden's transition. President Trump acknowledging it's in the best interests of the country, but still vowing that he will never concede. Here's NBC's Peter Alexander with the latest.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News at 4.
An explosion in southern Indiana this morning sent a massive thick cloud of smoke into the air. You can take a look at it right there while you're looking at some of the aftermath that was caught on camera. Welcome to Wave 3 News at 4. I'm Elizabeth Pace in for Dawne Gee. We know that explosion has sent a worker to the hospital right now. Wave 3 News reporter Stephen Goen is live for us in Scottsburg with more. Stephen, what have you learned so far?
Elizabeth, first responders rushed to the scene here at Thomas Plastic in Scottsburg just before 10 a.m. this morning. The cause of that fire and the explosion is not yet confirmed.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. For the people, not the powerful. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 4 with Dawne Gee and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned.
Some grocery stores across the country are reporting empty shelves once again. Wave 3 News reporter Tori Gessner set out to find out if panic buying is back in Louisville.
Here we go again. Shoppers panicking with little evidence they need to be.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Cleanup continues at the U.S. Capitol after a violent mob launched an assault on democracy that shut down Congress for hours, left 4 people dead, and much of the nation stunned in disbelief. Welcome to Wave 3 News at 5. I'm John Bull.
And I'm Shannon Cogan. Tonight, top Democrats are calling for Vice President Mike Pence to assume the Oval Office under the 25th Amendment. NBC's Jay Gray takes us to the U.S. Capitol 24 hours after the attack.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 5 with John Bull, Shannon Cogan, and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned.
A man shot to death in the middle of the afternoon out in West Louisville. Tonight, the search continues for his killer. The shooting happened about 12:30 in the afternoon. 23rd Magazine in the Russell neighborhood. Officers rushed there, found a man who'd been shot dead. His name hasn't been released.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
1 week out from Thanksgiving, U.S. doctors, nurses, and hospital officials are pleading with Americans to scale back holiday gatherings as COVID cases and deaths skyrocket. The CDC now recommending people don't travel for the holiday this year. NBC's Wendy Woolfolk has more.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 5:30 with John Bull, Connie Leonard, and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned.
We're now exactly 1 week away from Thanksgiving. Families all across the country are forcing to look at the decision. Is it safe to visit friends and family this year, or should I skip it? Reporter Gina Lee introduces us to a planning tool. It's really cool. It can help you weigh your individual risk of catching COVID-19.
People are traveling during the pandemic.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
A family loses a loved one to COVID-19 and responds with a warning for anybody who will listen. It's a story that is tragically becoming more common by the day. Good evening, I'm John Bull.
And I'm Shannon Cogan. Thanks for joining us. Wave 3 News reporter David Mattingly shares some timely words that could save lives.
Gerald Massey was a robust and active 92-year-old described as someone who still had gas left in the tank.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 6 with John Bull, Shannon Cogan, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned, and Sports Director Ken Taylor.
A second home for many in the Highlands is turning out the lights.
The owner of Shenanigans Irish Grill says his small pub has been hit hard by the pandemic, and now the second round of statewide restrictions. After close of business tomorrow, the bar is closing.
But the community is trying to take the sting out of all this uncertainty. Wave 3 News reporter Nick Pict shows us how.
I'm good, yeah. A chilly Tuesday afternoon can't kill the warm buzz at Shenanigans Irish Grill.
No, they don't! More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Another grim record broken in Indiana. Today, the state announced over 100 new deaths. Good evening, and thank you for joining us here for Wave 3 News at 7. I'm Dawne Gee. Let's take a look at Indiana's updated numbers. First, the Hoosier State reported 5,702 new cases today and 103 new deaths.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 7 with Dawne Gee, David Mattingly, and meteorologist Ryan Hoke.
Contact tracing is new to all of us, which can make it harder to figure out if you're being duped by someone who claims to be a public health worker. Experts say there are some telltale signs, though, that show something just isn't right. Wave 3 News reporter Mike Fussell has more on how some in our area are fighting back against scammers by exposing their strategy.
Those in Louisville say that a legit call will likely have a Lou Health caller ID.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Many Americans will likely have a smaller Thanksgiving celebration this year because of the coronavirus. But the stress of a hectic year could still cause a really tense dinner. Thank you for sticking with us for Wave 3 News at 7:30. I'm Dawne Gee. Wave 3 News reporter Elizabeth Pace joins us now from the Now desk to explain how to have that conversation ahead of Thursday.
Thanksgiving this year poses some unique challenges. Quarantine, travel restrictions, should you wear a mask? Is it safe for your in-laws to come? It's a conversation so many dread to have. So I spoke to a local family counselor to talk about how you can ease into this conversation.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 7:30 with Dawne Gee, David Mattingly, and meteorologist Ryan Hoke.
CPS will not face a state takeover following the results of an audit. The audit was part of an August 2018 settlement agreement between the Kentucky Department of Education and JCPS.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
Right now, a wall of rain advancing toward wave country, looking to roll in just as the sun rises. This could cause some issues as you're heading to work or travel for Thanksgiving. Thanks so much for joining us at 11. I'm Shannon Kogan.
I'm John Boll. Let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett, who's tracking some wind and rain for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a 1-2 punch for tomorrow. You see this water, this wall of rain moving in. It's at the Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana border just out to our west.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan. There's only one. More local now. You're watching Wave 3 News at 11 with Shannon Kogan, John Boll, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett, and Sports Director Ken Taylor.
In July, a woman traveled here hoping to inspire and encourage young girls of color in Louisville. And today, that group reached a milestone in her journey, accompanied by girls enrolled in the 300 for 300 program she founded. Chastity Dawson completed her 300th mile run on the Big Four Bridge to empower 300 local girls.
More local now with breaking news happening now. This is Wave 3 News.
Kentucky is reporting the highest number of COVID-19 cases ever today, and now 112 counties across the state are in the red zone. Thanks for joining us for Wave 3 News at 5. I'm Shannon Kogan.
I'm John Boll. Governor Beshear also talked to church leaders today about his recommendations for them for the next few weeks. Wave 3 News reporter Taylor Durden joins us now with that new information.
Governor Beshear is recommending churches to do virtual-only services for the next several weeks until December 13th, during the period when his other restrictions will be in place. Beshear talked to the Kentucky Council of Churches this morning. He says that it's a call that he has with them every 2 weeks to give them an update on where the virus is. He said that his recommendation to churches today is to move to virtual-only services. It's not a mandate like it was back in March. Beshear says that a vast majority of churches across the state are already virtual to protect their congregations.